The story begins by showing a counterfeit money printing factory located in North Korea. To protect it from foreign attacks, North Korea sent police officers to patrol there. This guard mission is led by Lim Cheol-ryun, a military policeman who is always reliable in every mission. When conditions were safe, he chose to have dinner with his wife, who is also a police officer. But not long after, he got an emergency report from inside the factory, and it turned out that there was a group of special forces who entered the money factory, immediately killed the guards there. Apparently, these troops wanted to steal the dollar printing plates in the factory. Seeing that, Lim and his men didn't want it happened. He tried to keep the robbers from escaping before reinforcements arrived. But unexpectedly, the person who masterminded the robbery was Chae Gae-sung, the police commander and his own superior. Before taking the money plate away, Chae threatened to kill Lim's wife if the policemen didn't drop their weapons and surrender on the spot. But when they complied, Chae threw a grenade and they started fighting. Unfortunately, Lim had to witness his wife being violently murdered in front of his eyes, and he couldn't do anything about it as he was already badly injured. Initially, Cha also intended to kill Lim, but he suddenly ran out of bullets. As a result, he let him live and challenged him to report the robbery to the president. Then, after the incident, North Korea's military and police officials held an emergency meeting to discuss the money printing plate that Chae stole. In this meeting, it was explained that the plate was referred to as supernotes because it can print various types of currency with high security so that it can escape counterfeit detection. After further investigation, it turns out that Cha has fled to Seoul, South Korea. In this city, introduced to a lame cop named Kang Jin-tae, he is seen chasing a criminal. But in the middle of his chase, his daughter suddenly called and asked to buy an iPhone. Because he couldn't catch the criminal, Kang was scolded by Captain Pyo, who was none other than his leader at the police station. Until finally he got a 3-month suspension because he always failed in carrying out his missions. On the other hand, Lim is seen being locked up in a prison cell by a police general who considers him to be in cahoots with Cha. Not accepting the accusation, he asked the general to kill him or send him to South Korea to caught and eliminate Cha as an avenge his wife's death. A few days later, Kang, who was sleeping soundly, was awakened by his daughter, and again she asked for the latest iPhone model. Not only that, Kang also has a sister-in-law named Park Min-young, who is beautiful but unemployed and often asks him for money. Plus, he has a super fierce wife that makes his life more miserable. But in the midst of his unfortunately, Kang was suddenly called by Pyo and offered a secret mission, where he must cooperate with the North Korean police, who is none other than Lim. And if he does well, his salary will automatically increase, and his sentence will be immediately removed. After reading the document from Pyo, Kang was determined to carry out the mission. Moreover, he has to earn a lot of money so that he can buy an iPhone for his only daughter. Then not long after, Kang was suddenly summoned by the State Intelligence Agency for further explanation. The point is, Kang must be able to take care of Lim during the mission, so that the North Korean police don't mess up in South Korea. At the same time, Lim is preparing to carry out a mission that he must complete within 3 days. But before that, the general gave him a Samsung cell phone that certainly didn't exist in North Korea. And during the mission, the cell phone would be used to communicate with him. Long story short, he finally arrived in Seoul and was greeted by Kang. However, Kang immediately confiscated his weapon in accordance with the rules of the South Korean Intelligence Agency. Then after that, Kang invites Lim to have lunch together while secretly digging for information. And it turns out that here it is revealed that his mission is not only to keep an eye on Lim, but also to find out about his main mission in South Korea. Meanwhile, Lim is also given a message by the general to keep the secret about the money plate stolen by Cha. While they are being wary of each other, Kang suddenly wants to remove Lim's North Korea pin and gets his hand twisted. After the meal, Kang tells Lim all the rules of his country so that the North Korean police won't act arbitrarily. In addition to reading the rules, he also gave him a cell phone, but Lim was sure that the cell phone must have been tapped by the spy there. Then Lim asks Kang to take him to a market, because he has to arrest a criminal named Park Myung-ho, who is Cha's man. But unfortunately, they got stuck in traffic. And in the middle of the traffic jam, Kang secretly leaked his mission to the spies, which made Lim so angry that he finally decided to go alone. Not long after, Lim arrived at his destination, but he was very surprised, because Kang was already there first. Then when the South Korean police wanted to arrest him, Lim suddenly saw Park's figure riding in a car. As a result, he immediately chased him at that time. Long story short, Park and his men arrived at a place to sell drugs to a dealer. Apparently, he has been selling drugs since escaping from North Korea with capital or money provided by Cha. After the transaction was completed, Park wanted to return to his house. But suddenly, Lim appeared and tried to tackle him. Then, with a very fast movement, Park managed to pull out a gun and a fight broke out. Seeing Park run away, Lim ran and wouldn't let him go. Meanwhile, Kang asks for help from his partner to track down the location the two of them before making a mess there. Unfortunately, it was too late because Park had hijacked a citizen's car and was driving recklessly in the middle of the road. Despite failing to catch Park, Lim could save a child by crashing the car into Kang's car. During the chaos, South Korean agents managed to find Cha's trail after tracking him from CCTV. They continued to find out what made Cha hunted by the North Korean police. At the same time, Cha, who is in his hiding place, gets news from Park that Lim is already in South Korea to arrest him. Meanwhile, Kang is being scolded by his boss for letting Lim create a mess. And in order to be monitored, Pyo tells Kang to bring the North Korean police to stay at his house. Inevitably, he has to obey his boss's orders. Then before taking him, he deliberately handcuffed the North Korean police's hands to prevent him from running away again. But as they want to get into the car, Kang told Lim that they had to trust each other, because this mission was a joint operation of the two countries. As a sign of brotherhood, the two of them stop by a liquor store first for a beer. While chatting, Kang puts a tracking device on Lim's leg and says that it's commonly used by South Korean police. He had never used it himself, and Lim, who didn't know, believed everything he said. Kang then introduces Lim to his family, without revealing his true identity. Of course, Min Young is immediately mesmerized by his good looks. While Lim was changing in the bathroom, Kang used this opportunity to slip the tapping device inside the North Korean police's cell phone. But Lim wasn't that stupid. He already had a feeling when he was about to call his boss. As a result, he discarded the listening device before reporting the progress of his mission to the general. The next day, Lim is invited to breakfast with the Kang family. And as usual, Min Young is always flirtatious. She even dresses up before eating. However, they were very surprised to find out that Lim was a North Korean citizen. After all, the two countries have never gotten along. But luckily, Kang was able to calm his family down and told them that Lim was officially a South Korean citizen. Elsewhere, Cha is having a meeting with a mafia boss named Yoon, where they intend to mass-produce counterfeit money. The condition is that Cha must show the money printer plate directly, because Yoon doesn't want to be cheated by him. At the same time, Kang and Lim continued their joint operation. This time they check the CCTV at a hotel that shows Park's movements. Then, after getting enough information, Lim rushes to arrest him. But as a police officer who obeys procedure, Kang wants to apply for a warrant first. Unfortunately, Lim doesn't want to listen to him because he can't wait to complete his mission. It doesn't take long before they arrive at the headquarters of a drug dealer who once bought stuff from Park. In this place, Kang tried to talk nicely, but he was bullied by these gangsters. Seeing that, Lim didn't just stoning and immediately slaughtered on the spot. Despite only using plastic cups and tissue rolls, Lim was able to finish off the gangsters very easily. Seeing his skills, Kang was both amazed and scared at the same time. After seeing his brutality, Kang persuaded Pyo to take him out of the mission to avoid getting into trouble with the gangsters. Of course, Pyo didn't allow it. Moreover, the mission was already halfway through. To help his subordinates, he provided information about Park's location after tracking the gangsters' cell phones. On the other hand, Lim secretly eavesdropped on Kang's conversation, because it turned out that he had installed a listening device on his cell phone. Not long after, Lim and Kang go to Park's place, which turns out to be a gambling stall under the guise of a Chinese restaurant. When they both go in there, Park is outside with Cha's right-hand man, who will call the lieutenant. Here, Park is ordered to go abroad so that he can hide for a while. Lim, who sees them, immediately exits the restaurant, leaving Kang in the middle of the gangsters, and inevitably, he must be forced to fight all the gangsters alone. While Kang was overwhelmed, Lim went to the lieutenant, who apparently had killed Park, because he didn't want to obey his boss's orders. Cha's henchman then gave Lim a cell phone to talk directly to his boss. Without hesitation, Cha threatens to finish him if he dares to mess up his plan. Then, after the phone was hung up, they fought each other. Unfortunately, the lieutenant could escape after hearing the approaching police sirens. They had no choice but to use Park's body and all of his belongings to find out about Cha's whereabouts. Before continuing the investigation, Lim looks worried when he sees the stab wound on Kang's stomach, but this South Korean police pretended to be strong in front of him, even though he was in pain. Kang then gave Park's cell phone to one of his subordinates to be repaired and investigated further. On the way home, Kang asked Lim what he was really after that he had to go alone to South Korea. But he didn't answer honestly and said that he was only sent to arrest Cha, who had slaughtered his colleagues. But unfortunately, Cha has an impenetrable escort. After digging up information, Kang reported it to Pio. As usual, Lim secretly eavesdropped through the bugs he had installed. At the same time, a former inmate wears a tracking device on his leg, exactly the same one used by Lim. From this, he knew that Kang had deceived him. As a result, he asked him to remove it. Arriving home, his wife is furious while treating his wound. Here, Kang's wife doesn't like his job as a detective because the stakes are life. On the other hand, Min Young is seen seducing Lim. But this time, the North Korean police rejects her and says that he already has a wife. Not believing his words, Min Young quietly enters Lim's bed and sleeps next to him. But it turns out he's a Kang. Meanwhile, Lim still can't sleep because he remembers his late wife, and whatever happens, he must be able to avenge Cha. The next day, Kang's wife felt sorry when she saw Lim's worn-out clothes. Therefore, she gave him new clothes. Then during breakfast, Kang is informed by Pio that his cell phone has been tapped, and he immediately looks at Lim with suspicion. Before they continue their mission, Kang's wife tells Lim to take care of her poor husband so he doesn't get hurt like yesterday. Unfortunately, the relationship between the two of them is getting more and more fractured as they are both guarding state secrets. On the one hand, Kang could track down Cha's hiding place and already knows about the money print plate that Cha stole. On the other hand, Lim still hasn't told him about his true intentions. Until finally they argued and demonized each other's countries. But afterward, Lim chose to give in and promised to give the money print or supernote plate to Kang if he would tell Cha's location. At the hideout, Cha's men are printing fake money in the amount of tens of millions of dollars. At the same time, Kang and Lim were already there and ready to arrest Cha. However, Lim suddenly gives Kang $100,000 to buy his daughter an iPhone. Then he thanks him for all his help, and from here on he will fight Cha and his men alone. Nonetheless, Kang decides to get in on the action, as this mission is a joint operation after all. While they were making the infiltration plan, Cha was seen having problems with Yoon, because the mafia wanted to have his money printing plate. Cha, who didn't accept it, immediately finished him at that time. After slaughtering Yoon and Yoon's men, he tells his men to prepare to go abroad before Lim comes to arrest him. But suddenly, Lim arrived by jumping from an outside window. Finally, the shootout was very tense, where Lim and Kang had to deal with dozens of armed gangsters who had surrounded them. Unfortunately, Cha could escape after shooting one of the policemen who blocked him. Not just silent, Lim and Kang rushed after him in a hijacked car. Then, in the middle of the chase, spy officials told Kang to take the money plate. But it's not easy at all, because Cha and his men are highly trained people. Because of his great shooting skills, Lim was finally able to overturn Cha's car. He then approached Cha and wanted to kill him to avenge his wife's death. However, Kang could interrupt his shot, as the criminal had to be arrested and caught alive. Seeing Cha run away, Lim looked very angry at Kang. Until finally he said that Cha had killed his wife who was pregnant. Kang immediately feels guilty, and to make amends, he tells Lim to go bring the Supernote plate. At night, Lim handed over the Supernote plate to the general, then asked for permission to look for Cha's corpse. But since his mission was over, he inevitably had to return to North Korea, even though Cha is still alive and is planning something at the dock. On the other hand, Kang just got a call from Cha, who has taken his daughter and wife as hostage. In addition, he also threatened to kill them if Kang didn't hand over the money plate. Worried about his family, Kang immediately contacted Lim and asked for his help once again. As a result, Lim canceled his flight and asked the general for permission to bring the Supernote plate to save Kang's family and arrest Cha, who was still alive. Although his request was rejected, Lim still insisted, because he didn't want to let Cha roam freely. At the same time, Kang finally reached the dock to rescue his daughter and wife, but he saw that there was a bomb attached to both of them. Luckily, Lim arrives on time and immediately finishes off Cha's men one by one. Lim then gave half of the Supernote plate to Cha, and the other half he would hand over if Kang's family was released. Hearing that, Cha was willing to let them go without a second thought. On the way home, Kang felt bad about leaving Lim alone, and without wasting any more time, he decided to make a U-turn to help his new friend. On the other hand, his wife and daughter also supported Kang's actions. After all, Lim had saved him once before. Meanwhile, Lim deliberately throws away half of the Supernote plate to provoke Cha's anger, until finally Cha mobilized all his men to finish him off. Because Lim is too overpowered, finally Cha told the lieutenant to duel with him, and this time the struggle became more brutal. But after successfully killing the lieutenant, he was shot by Cha. Fortunately, Kang came at the right time to provide additional ammunition. He also told Lim to go after Cha, while he would fight the rest of gangsters. Without wasting any more time, Lim immediately chased Cha and attacked him on the spot. Unfortunately, he couldn't keep up with Cha, because his body had been shot many times. Seeing that, Kang tried to fight Cha, even though he knew that he would lose badly. And sure enough, Cha could take him down and torture him without mercy. But when he was at his lowest point, Lim suddenly could shoot him. Finally, the battle between the state servants ended. Then at the end of the story, they both sat on the edge of the pier while waiting for the sun to rise. Here, they thanked each other for their help. Lim also looked relieved after avenging his wife. He doesn't even care about the money plate anymore and gives it to Kang, so that he can buy an iPhone factory. But instead of taking it home, he throws it into the sea, so as not to make many troubles anymore. And then, the movie ended.